You're being manipulated far more often than you realize. At this very moment, someone in your life may be using subtle tactics to steer your decisions without you even noticing. But the timeless strategic insights of Japan's greatest swordsman Miyamoto Musashi, who won 60 consecutive duels, reveal 4 powerful methods to detect and counter manipulation in any setting. This system begins at the very point where manipulators expect you to be weakest. Your own emotions. Part 1. Emotional reversal manipulators have one primary objective: to hijack your emotions. Whether it's anger, fear, guilt, or insecurity, emotional responses cloud rational thought and make your behavior predictable. This is the core of all manipulation tactics. Musashi understood this perfectly. In every duel, he remained emotionally detached, even as his opponents grew agitated and impulsive. He once wrote, "The important thing in strategy is to suppress the enemy's useful actions, but allow his useless actions." This principle applies directly to modern manipulation. Musashi's calm, unreadable presence became a mirror reflecting his opponent's own frustrations. They would taunt, provoke, threaten, yet he never reacted. By staying emotionally neutral, he disarmed their strategies before a single strike was thrown. In one notable encounter, an opponent mocked Musashi's humble origins, attempting to incite rage. Musashi didn't defend himself, he simply observed. As the opponent grew more emotional, his movements became predictable, making him easy to defeat. Musashi likened emotional observation to reading the weather before battle. It revealed everything about how the opponent would attack. The same principle applies today. When someone triggers sudden guilt, self-doubt, or fear in you, pause. This is often the first sign of manipulation. Emotional reversal has 3 steps. Recognize the emotional trigger being used against you. Mentally step back from the emotion rather than reacting. Maintain calm, watching as the manipulator's plan crumbles without your cooperation. In a modern setting, this can be incredibly effective. Take Mark, a business consultant. When a client repeatedly pressured him with budget concerns and fake urgency, Mark didn't react. Instead, he calmly acknowledged the concerns without anxiety. As a result, the client, expecting panic and concessions, slipped and revealed that the timeline was artificially created to manipulate rates. Manipulators depend on your reactions. Deny them that, and they lose their power. But emotional control is only the beginning. Even the calmest person can fall into predictable routines, and that's exactly what skilled manipulators look for. Part 2. Expectation subversion. All social interactions follow unwritten scripts. We ask, "How are you?" and expect fine. We express insecurity and expect comfort. We present reasonable requests and expect compliance. Manipulators exploit these expectations by structuring interactions that guide you into predictable roles, all while advancing their hidden agenda. Musashi shattered this kind of predictability in combat. He wrote, "You win battles by knowing the enemy's timing and using a timing which the enemy does not expect." While other swordsmen followed tradition, Musashi disrupted patterns deliberately. In his famous clash with the Yoshioka school, after defeating 2 of their masters, he arrived hours early for a scheduled ambush, catching the entire school off guard. By subverting expectations, he secured total control. Manipulators use the same approach in conversation. They ask leading questions expecting specific answers. They present false choices, assuming you'll choose between them. They create artificial emergencies expecting compliance. The solution is pattern disruption. When presented with 2 false options, offer a third. When pressured to respond instantly, introduce a delay. When they expect defensiveness, respond with genuine curiosity. This tactic works powerfully in personal relationships too. Sarah had a co-worker who constantly criticized the team right before presentations, inducing panic to gain control. One day, instead of defending or agreeing, she said, "You might be right. What would you suggest?" And then stayed silent. The manipulator, caught off script, had no real input, exposing the tactic. Manipulation thrives on predictability. Introduce surprise, unusual timing, unexpected questions, or unorthodox responses, and their plan falls apart. But Musashi didn't just react to others. He took things further by controlling the entire setting of a conflict before it even began. Part 3. Situational control. Manipulators don't only rely on emotions or patterns, they build environments that support their tactics. They isolate you from support, introduce time constraints, or control information flow. Musashi mastered environmental manipulation as part of his strategy. He believed, "Become acquainted with every art." Victory wasn't just about swordsmanship. It was about mastery over every factor that could influence the outcome. He fought duels with the sun behind him, forcing opponents to squint. He selected terrain that neutralized longer weapons. In one duel, he lured an enemy into a narrow mountain pass, rendering wide strikes useless. These insights are directly applicable today. Use environmental control through location. Choose neutral ground. Don't meet a manipulator on their home turf. Timing. Set clear time boundaries to limit pressure. Information. Prepare and request full transparency ahead of time. Carlos, a manager, noticed a senior colleague manipulating decisions via private pre-meetings and selective information. Instead of confronting him, Carlos restructured meetings, pre-shared agendas, documented discussions, and equal input time. With the environment changed, the manipulator's influence dissolved. Manipulators depend on carefully curated conditions. If you control the where, when, and how, you remove their biggest advantages. Still, Musashi's ultimate technique wasn't defense. It was turning the manipulator's plan against them. His final lesson combines everything into a masterstroke of strategy. Part 4. Strategic counter-manipulation. Musashi's legendary duel with Sasaki Kojiro showcases his complete mastery of psychological and strategic warfare. Kojiro, famed for his speed and long blade technique known as the swallow cut, should have had the upper hand. But Musashi knew something deeper. There is more than one path to the top of the mountain. Instead of a direct contest, Musashi orchestrated total strategic manipulation. He arrived late, forcing Kojiro to wait in the heat, draining energy and composure. On the boat to the duel, Musashi carved a wooden sword longer than Kojiro's steel one, negating his range advantage. He stood with the sun at his back, blinding Kojiro. By the time the duel began, Kojiro was angry, tired, and off balance. Musashi ended the fight in a single blow. Musashi hadn't just won through skill. He had engineered the outcome by turning Kojiro's expectations into weaknesses. This is strategic counter-manipulation. Here's how it works in 3 steps. Identify the manipulator's likely tactics and goals. Set conditions that make those tactics visible to others or unusable. Prepare alternative paths that bypass their entire strategy. Like Musashi's wooden sword, these strategies don't require aggression. They require insight. Manipulation thrives in the shadows. When you expose it, it often dissolves on its own. The full system. Each level of this system protects you more deeply. Emotional control neutralizes basic manipulation. Pattern disruption disables persistent manipulation. Situational control prevents environmental manipulation. Strategic counter-manipulation dismantles advanced tactics entirely. Musashi's philosophy of combat was never just about winning. It was about seeing clearly. By mastering these principles, you shift from being a passive target of manipulation to a deliberate guardian of clarity, balance, and truth in every interaction. Let them play their games. You have your strategy.